Why you had to lose your old life to gain your new one. I'm Sonia Renee, and welcome back to my channel where I talk about fashion, lifestyle, and inspiration. And today is an inspiration video, and I want to talk to you about why you had to lose your old life to gain your new one. Now, I just did a video recently too, before this one, about you had to how you had to lose the old you to gain a new you. But this one is more so about the idea of why you must lose your old life to gain your new one. And it is very profound because it's a concept that's found in psychology, philosophy, and personal growth. Okay. And it isn't necessarily about tragedy, it's about the physics of change. Because a lot of times people look at loss as I'm losing something of importance, when really you're actually making a transition that often requires a total departure from your past. So let's get into it. First, I want to talk about what I call the container theory. Think of life like a container. You got all this stuff in this container, all this stuff in this container, and you don't put a lid on it and locked it in, right? If it is already full of habits, behaviors, beliefs, long-standing commitments, there is literally no physical or mental room for anything else to grow or for anything new, right? And the trade-off is, to gain a new career, you have to lose the security of the old one. Use that as an example. Um, to get a new perspective, you have to be open to it, this uncertainty of a new perspective, or let go of certainty of old biases. Right? I can remember when Steve Harvey shared a story about how he would come home every day and say, "Mom, I'm gonna get a new car. I'm gonna get a new car." And she said, "I know, baby, but your old car is in the driveway on cinder blocks." And he said for 2 weeks, every day he would come home and say that, and she would say the same thing. So he said finally he went and he had somebody move the car out the driveway, cleaned the driveway up really good, and 2 weeks later, he pulled in with a new car. And so basically, it's the scenario of, in order to get something new, you have to make space for it. You want a new wardrobe? Clean out some of them clothes. Get some of those clothes out your wardrobe closet that you know you don't wear and ain't worn in 2, 3 years. You keep recycling them from winter to summer, and you don't wear them. Give them away if you want a new wardrobe. Okay, so anything that you want new, you got to make room for it, right? But then it also requires an identity and ego death. And some people just have a really hard time with that ego, right? Much of our old life is built on how others perceive us as. I'm looking at my notes so y'all don't think, because Auntie want to make sure she don't forget anything that I want to say, because I want to be very clear on what I'm saying with y'all today. Um, but much of our old life is built on how others perceive us as, and how we perceive ourselves, right? Like the reliable one. You could be the fixer, the one who's always giving the great advice. I know people used to call my phone all the time because I'm the one to give the great advice. I'm the one to be honest with you. I'm the one to know how to be you spiritually, give people guidance and direction. So I'm the one that they call for that. And sometimes it can be draining because I'm also the one that gets trauma dumped on, right? And not in a bad way, because as the emotional, as the spiritual healer, an earth angel healer, an empath, I'm clairaudient, clairsentient, and I'm a seer. Yes, I can see into people's lives and give them some insight and wisdom on some next steps that they can take in their life. So yeah, so of course I'm going to be the one to get those phone calls, um, because they want answers. People are looking for answers. They're desperate. They're looking for their beacon of light, right? So the conflict with that is, if your new life requires you to be a beginner or a risk taker. I'm a risk taker, but some people are petrified of taking risk. But where there's no risk, there's no reward. Your old identity will have to fight to keep you safe in the old. Will fight to keep you safe in the old version of you. That old identity will fight you because it's familiar, it's comfortable. You know what's going on. You know what to do. You can do it in your sleep, and there's no fear there. But fear is false evidence appearing real. And the release of it is, you have to kill the version of yourself that is comfortable with the status quo to allow the new version of you to emerge. And it's easier said than done, but it's a process. And you know what? I've been doing it for years. The past couple years, I've been doing it because when I wrote my book, The Abandonment Is Not Your Fault, link in description. Um, I didn't even know that I had abandonment wounds. When God said write a book on abandonment, I was like, I don't have no abandonment wounds. What you talking about? Because I only associated with it with being needy and clingy, and I'm not either one. But there are other abandonment wounds that I didn't even know about, like trust issues, overgiving, codependency, depression. Like I didn't deal with all of those. Overgiver, ding, ding, ding. That's me, because I'm a giver by nature. Sometimes I don't. Didn't have boundaries on my giving, but I didn't realize that a lot of the traumas that people have are drawn to a trauma trait that somebody else has, which keeps you locked in these toxic cycles and keeps you drawn into unhealthy relationships. So when I wrote the book about the different types of relationships that I was in with my parents, my ex-husband, family, friends, that kept me in a cycle, in a loop of trauma and wounds. And when trauma attracts trauma, and I started getting triggered, I was like, what's going on here? And God, when I was writing the book, it was therapeutic because God started to show me like all these wounds that I had suppressed. Because as a Gen X, I'm coming from a generation where we didn't get to talk about what was going on. Your child stay in a child's place. Didn't get to express yourself. So we suppressed it. You go on, you think you forgot about it, but really, as an adult, when you be around other people that come from other walks of life and you get triggered, it's like, oh, wait a minute, what's going on here? That's something I got to deal with. And so when I started going on my healing journey, and I realized I had to shed a lot of the old Sonia, which wasn't bad, but there were some things that could be worked on. We all got something to work on, right? Okay, ain't no shade. We all got something to work on. So I just worked on. I just had to start doing the shadow work and dying to myself, to old self, so the new version of Sonia could evolve. So I can be that beacon of light. I can be the word of wisdom. I can be the sounding board for those who need it, for those who's watching this video right now, right? So now also we have the environment and influence. Okay, our environment has to change because if you hang around 9 broke people, you're gonna be the 10th. You hang around 9 people always going to the club, partying, toast turning up, you're gonna be the 10th. You hang around 9 people that's about business and making moves and goals and dreams and traveling and living a great life, you're gonna be the 10th. So because you are a product of your environment, right? We are heavily influenced by our surroundings. Okay. And if you stay in the same town with the same friends doing the same routine, your brain will go on autopilot. I know, I'm from Philly. There are so many things, and we didn't have social media when I was growing up. There are so many sayings and things that we did and places we went that it's like nobody told us this. Nobody gave out a big sound and a big bullhorn saying, do this, but we just did it, you know? But then what happens when somebody starts to break the pattern? Because the pattern has to break. And losing the old life, whether through moving, changing social circles, or shifting routines, forces the brain into neuroplasticity mode. I know that was a long word, but it deals with the neuro. It deals with the brain. Okay, it's having the brain make a shift because you're breaking a pattern of an old habit, of a bad habit. Now maybe a bad habit, but an old habit, right? Somebody has to say, okay, it has to be more. It has to be more, better. What else can we do other than this? This can't just be it, right? So that's where reinvention comes in because without old triggers, you are free to decide who you want to be today rather than reaching to who you were yesterday. Remember that picture, I know some of you probably saw it, where the guy he's digging in the ground. He's digging because he's digging for his gold, digging for money or whatever, right? And he gets this close and then he gets up and he stops and he turns around and walks away. But he didn't realize that if he just digged us a little bit more, he was going to hit his pot of gold. I call that space the liminal space is like the belly of the whale because it's the most difficult space to be in, which is I call this also like the caterpillar stage. You know, it's the period where the old life is gone, but the new one hasn't really started yet. You haven't really seen a tangible manifestation of what you've been manifesting and praying and believing God for. So you kind of like in that middle section. It's like icky, like okay, what's going on? Like, come on, God, it's very uncomfortable. And the discomfort is actually where the most growth happens. Because in order to grow, you got to get out your comfort zone. You got to jump into the deep unknown. You have to. And a lot of times the reason why a lot of people don't change is because they fear that unknown. Again, that false evidence appearing real because I don't know what's out there. I don't know what's going to happen. What if I fail? But what if you succeed? What if I lose? What if you win? Look at the hourglass half full instead of half empty, right? But if you don't have right people in your surroundings and your environment to support you and encourage you, you can talk yourself out of it. If you don't lose the old life completely, you would likely retreat to the old life because it's easy to go back to what's familiar. And people go back to the old life and retreat to the old life in the moment of when things get difficult. And so, especially if the new life does start to manifest, and now they have to create new habits and new behaviors and new thought patterns, and it gets like it can be overwhelming. And so it can make some people go back. But I'm here to encourage you, keep going. Don't quit. Keep going. Because I'm in that caterpillar stage with you right now too. I've shed the old Sonia. Even my career, I'm making career changes, which really it can be challenging and very scary because you don't know if the new career is going to take off like you want it to, if it's going to happen the way you want to. I believe it is. I trust God in the process because I've been following His instruction. However, the spirit is willing, but the flesh is weak. The flesh is like, oh no, maybe I should go back because this. I know what this look like. I know what the old look like. I can go back to do. I go back to doing hair. That's easy money for me. I can move how I want to move. But the new career, I don't know what that is going to entail. I don't know what's going to happen. I don't know how it's going to pan out. But I do know that if I keep putting in the work in, I do understand seed time harvest. And I do understand that for every seed I sow and as watered in time, I will reap a harvest. That's what I trust because I look at my history in life. Every seed that I've ever sown, I've reaped a harvest on it. And so seed time harvest never changes. God does words does not become back void. And I trust that process. And so am I in the caterpillar stage with you right now? Because some of you are right there in that middle stage, that uncomfortable stage. But that's where the intense growth comes in. Where you have to travel the road less traveled. Where you have to travel that road maybe by yourself. And it's a lonely road when you don't have anybody to travel the road with you because they don't understand you, they don't understand what you're doing, and they don't see your vision. But they're not going to see your vision because that God didn't give the vision to them. God gave the vision to you. They may not be even called to your assignment. You want to be connected with your soul tribe, with the people who are assigned to answer to the call of your voice, the people who are assigned to your assignment. Because if people are not assigned to your assignment, they're going to look at you like you're crazy. They're going to have something negative to say. There's always going to be negative Nancy and no hope Bob. But you have to be strong enough to say, you know what? I know what God showed me. I know what God told me. And I've been taking steps one day at a time. And I'm bearing some fruit. I may be seeing a little bit here, a little bit there. However, I do know that if I continue to keep watering these seeds, in time I'm going to reap the harvest. And here in this moment too, this is so important. Lord, listen to me. Here, listen to Auntie when she say this right now. This is so important. In this space too, I was just telling this to a producer friend of mine because we did a TV show together. I'm an actress for some of you don't know. That's the new career I've been working on for the past few years. And I've been doing really well. You catch me on Miss Governor with Terry Vaughn, Tyler Perry Studios, and TV One as well as Tubi. But here's the thing. I was telling her, I was like, listen, I said, in this space is where God is showing you who gets to stay and who gets to go. When you start to shed your old life, you're shedding people too. I've shed family members. I've shed friends. I've shed my birth parents. Because I found I was adopted when I turned 49. That's a whole nother story for another day. However, I had to shed old careers. I had to shed a lot. And what God was showing me is like, where I'm taking you, these old people can't go with you. And God knows my heart. I'm loyal, sometimes to a fault. I'm giving. And, if I'm eating steak, we all eat steak. If I'm up, we all up, right? But God said, no, some of these people can't go with you because God heard the conversations that were said about me when I wasn't around. And one thing I always ask for and thank God for is God's protection from danger seen and unseen. Right? So if you're in that caterpillar stage and this is the moment and you losing friends, this is how you know when you're in that middle stage and you about to hit your blessing because you start losing friends, you start losing family members, you start losing You may lose your job. You may lose your car. You may have to move to a whole other state, because I believe that your blessings are connected to your geography. You need to be in a state where you know you're going to thrive, not in a state where you're just going to survive. Okay. So when those things start to happen and old businesses fall apart, old platforms die, they just become stagnant, that's when God is saying, okay, no, it's time for newness of life. It's time for newness of life. All right. So why you had to lose everything to find yourself, the physics of personal transformation, and stop holding on to the truth about it and starting over is basically this. It's okay to shed the old, because the old allows you to make room for the new. All right. I hope this video was helpful. I hope you loved it. Auntie loves you, and I'll see you on the next video. Oh, and if you want my book, Abandonment is Not Your Fault, click the link below. Get that book. I promise you it will be inspiring, and it will help change your life. And it also can help you on your journey of not just healing, but making sure that you go forward, connecting yourself with the right people, the right places, purpose, plan, and position for your prosperity. Ashe. Bye.